welcome back to the Amazon EU Masters as we continue on Carmine Corp's absolute tear through Group B on week number 2. You know, after they got pretty heavily slammed by X7 in week 1, they came back with a vengeance this week. And we're actually talking to Carmine Corp's coach for the last couple of victories actually under the belt. So, Reha, first of all, I hope that's how I say your name. Hello, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. Yeah, it's a good way to pronounce my name. It's fine.
Perfect. I'm awful at names. It's a bit of a meme.
Yeah, you are.
So, first of all, congratulations on these 2 wins back to back. You know, very important games for you, and the likelihood of there potentially being a tiebreaker between you and X7 kind of relies on the next game. And realistically, we kind of expect there to be a tiebreaker here. How are you guys feeling about another rematch? Because it looked like today you came in a lot more prepared for X7 than you did in week 1.
Yeah, yes, for sure. I mean, today we went for a plan that we're going to play 4 games. Most important for us is just to be ready to play as many games as possible, as many games as needed. And yeah, for sure, our target is on X7. I think that getting seed 1 is really important right now because obviously I think other seed 1s are also really good. I think that going seed 2 and quarterfinals is it's not as easy to start quarterfinals against really good teams rather than if you start with a bit of a lower level team. It's a bit easier to prepare and also to get confidence. So yeah, for sure, that's the objective.
Talking about confidence, we have heard a lot of the other LFL teams and players saying we feel like the strongest teams in the tournament right now that we think we're going to face, you know, going towards like quarterfinals, semifinals, or even finals are going to be LFL teams, all of them. Do you have maybe a different opinion than that, or do you think that still the only strong teams in the tournament are LFL teams?
No, for sure. I think LFL teams are really good, and I think every LFL team is aiming to get at least top 2 or trying to win. That's our objective. We really want to win the tournament. We've been winning the last 2 episodes of the EU Masters, so that's the objective. But saying that only LFL teams are good is not true. I think that X7 is for sure a good team. I think the other NLC teams are legit. Even Keso can be a team that is hard to beat on a competitive stage. So obviously, I think that it's really hard to compare scrims and competitive games, but for sure, I think that LFL teams are probably favorite to win the tournaments, but you should never underestimate anyone else, especially I think the NLC teams. That's my opinion on the tournament right now. So let's see if Keso can upset everyone and take the title as a LVP team. But yeah, hopefully we take it.
Well, congratulations on, first of all, qualifying into the playoffs. Really, really good showing from you here in week 2. Thank you so much for the interview, and good luck with any potential tiebreakers that might be coming up later. Although I am an NLC fan, so what can I say? Maybe not so good luck. We'll speak to you soon, all right, mate? See you later.
It's like this, okay, all right, thank you guys. See you.
Thank you. I mean, we got some praise for the NLC, right? He's like, you should never underestimate NLC teams. I mean, we have made back-to-back finals, but let's
focus a little bit more on this game, because this was a very, very good game from KC. I mean, it's been two good games back-to-back from Carmine Corp. They have really kind of turned around whatever issues they did have versus X7 in the beginning of the group stages, and they're just looking like a team who have a very good read on what to do. They're playing very aggressive, and this is kind of like the aggression we expected out of KC coming into the tournament, right?
It was just so dominant. It was like top, mid, jungle, bot lane. Everything worked as intended. The entire game was very textbook. You had Cabo shot with the counter pick, the Trindamir into the Graves. He absolutely ran down Sacre. Then 1-1-3 with the very aggressive ganks, getting Seiken ahead onto the rise, then Seiken bleeding his pressure into the bot lane and at the top. Reckless doing reckless things, had Terra roaming the entire map. I think that is like peak Carmine Corp that we're seeing right here. And even though, again, the only remaining member from the OG Carmine Corp is Seiken, and this is a brand new iteration of Carmine Corp coming in as still back-to-back champions, this looks pretty darn good if you're a fan.
Absolutely. This is a real burst of confidence for KC fans because, you know, domestically it'd been a pretty rough split. I think that's totally fair to say. And then, you know, their I've had a brain fart. They're like their play-ins, you know, while they made it through, there was definitely weaknesses shown. And then you think about week 1 losing to X7 in a very quick game. Very rough, but Holy is a good response to that damage. 11,000 more damage from Reckless. Wow.
Yeah. 25.5k onto that misfortune, and it shows you that even when he's been sort of like a quiet force, he's still a big force to be reckoned with. So you can never underestimate any member from Carmichael, because back-to-back champions, brand new roster, it still works.
But we are obviously now looking at Team Phantasma versus X7 as our final game of Group B, potentially without tiebreakers. X7, you know, a bit of an upset loss there to KC. You know, I wouldn't say upset. I think that's a little disingenuous to KC, but, you know, they lost to
upset compared to the first game where KC didn't get a single kill, maybe.
Expectations were high for X7, and they look lost. I think it's fair to say they look very lost. They've had a game off to kind of watch Carmine Corp versus Gaming Legion, kind of get their head in the right place and decide now what they're going to do. The misfortune getting banned away from Nata did obviously play that versus KC. Not particularly the greatest performance from them. Curious to see now what the rest of the bans are going to look like. We obviously had a lot of attention on the Renata in today's games as well. Obviously banned away in pretty much every champ select. Its team fight capability just too strong.
And honestly, you also want to get rid of the Volibear, one of the strongest junglers in the early game. I'm expecting potentially maybe a Zeri ban from the sort of X7 to not give it towards the blue side as well. And then you still have things such as the Xayah or the Jinx. This is usually like the two B1 picks that you're going to see when everything else that we just mentioned has been banned away.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the Ahri, the LeBlanc getting banned away. Looking towards these final bans here for the side of Team Phantasma. Just to kind of reiterate the stakes once again. If X7 win this, they are forced into a tiebreaker after this game versus Carmine Corp for first place in the group. If they lose this game to Team Phantasma unfortunately are locked into fourth, so they won't be going off to playoffs, but X7 will then get pushed into second place. So it is really all to play for X7. So originally we thought potentially this game could be kind of a fun game where X7 maybe just look to have a little bit of fun, but it looks like now they have to make sure they really try in this game to make sure that they can potentially lock in first, because you are dodging the first seeds from other groups, and that is super important if the Jarvan is the final ban from X7.
So I'm thinking here potentially like a Jinx could be the B1 pick that you want to go for. Very safe, scales into the late game, one of the S tier 80 carries that remains. Also the FLICKR if you so wish. Go maybe towards the Zhao, especially now that the Jarvan has been banned away. But remember, when X7 played last week, first round of groups, played against Team Phantasma, Haru, of course we forgot Zeri because it's not banned. Haru did not have the best time playing into Nikolex's Olaf, and it was the first time that we saw Haru make uncharacteristic mistakes. Luckily for them, they were able to pull it back because they had the Diana Yasuo combo, so it worked really well later on. But now it is time for Nata to run that Jinx towards the bot side of the map.
Well, two very powerful AD carries getting locked in here. Curious to see what the attention is towards the support pool. Obviously, we see things like the Yuumi and the Lulu get locked in with Zeri. Obviously, X7 probably looking just towards their jungler right now. And then we'll look towards potentially a support or a mid laner next as to Team Phantasma. What have they got up their sleeves in response to this?
I think the Olaf hover here makes sense. Nikolex is a notorious Olaf player, and even though it's not everyone's cup of tea because it's a very niche pick, it can actually get access into the backline where the Jinx is. Now, of course, we know that Kasing plays a lot of Tamkens as well, so this is one way that you could potentially get one of your carries out of harm's way, especially with an Olaf that is unstoppable.
Absolutely. Now we're seeing what the final pick's going to be here for the side of Team Phantasma. They are weighting it down a little bit, but I did mention it. These enchanters are just so good with Zeri, able to speed her up, keep her alive, and just really output lots of damage. Also, keep in mind this is a Sona pick for X7. Very, very different. It's been a while since I've seen the Sona show up. It has had a place somewhat recent, actually, I believe, but not a consistent pick.
It was played by Nuke Duck in the LEC. In this season as well.
Yeah.
And I was the one that said maybe, you know, Seraphine would have been better because the spells have a bigger range, but this could also be Tempt on Sona because Sona together with Zhao, the Zhao does not die. It's going to be so strong. Or it could potentially go towards the bot side of the map because Zeri plus Yuumi is not an extra aggressive lane that's going to run Sona down, and having the extra heals and pokes can work versus the Yuumi and also keep your Jinx safe. Now, the only problem would be that Nikolex onto that Olaf can run down the Sona. This is why I have a doubt in my mind that this could potentially maybe be Tempt running the Sona in the mid lane.
All right, well, the Victor's going to get banned away. The Rise in response as well. Mid laner pool getting pinched pretty heavily. It's moving into these later stages like LeBlanc and Ari also banned out. See what is going to be the next couple of stages as the Akali gets banned away. Jaeger didn't really pull it off to great success versus Common Corp earlier on in the day. The final ban coming in from Team Phantasma. Just keeping our eyes as well. If this is a mid lane Sona, things like the Fresh is still up and available for Kasing to take if they want to take, you know, something that adds a little bit more safety. Obviously, we've seen a lot of Rakan in the last couple of games as well as a really effective team fighting tool. But no, it's going to be the Vex in the mid lane from Tempt.
Yeah, and Tempt is very used to playing the Vex together with Haru in the NOC. The bread and butter was running the Hecarim together with the Vex and creating these engages where you'd be locked down and feed for literally eternity. And this can actually work because so far you've got a very squishy bot lane, the Zeri together with the Yuumi. So if the art does connect, you can go very easily in. But now you gave Sylas away, which means that if Sylas steals Vex ult, he gets a pretty easy snowball. And Sylas is melee. He loves being able to reach the backline. So that makes absolute sense right here for Peppe. Remember what we said about Peppe. He loves playing these assassins in your face kind of champions. This is why the Ari got banned away. He got a quadra kill in the GLL finals with the Akali as well. That's why that one got banned out. And now the Sylas remains. Camille has been locked in. One of the notorious counters to Camille on the sideline has been the Fiora or the Jax. And Jaeger has the choice of either of the two.
It's a lot of good ultimates for Peppe to steal away on this Sylas actually. Now look at it, you obviously got the Crescendo, the Rocket.
The Zinza ult.
The Zinza ult for survivability. Obviously the Vex one is going to be a really big one, but the Gwen going to be the final pickup here for Jaeger. I do worry that there's a lot of AP stacking because obviously Sona is technically doing AP damage as well, but you do still have the Jinx to kind of do a lot of AD as well.
I absolutely love what X7 have here. They know exactly who their carry is. It's the Jinx. And they have literally created multiple bubbles around the Jinx.
Yeah.
With the W fear from Vex, the Zinza ultimate, the bubble from the Gwen as well, the Sona auras and the heals and the shields that she provides. This is most likely going to be the Nata show. And he's also holding an exhaust on him as well, which means that whoever gets on him in the backline, he will get instantly exhausted. Whilst for the summer Team Phantasma, I think they went towards more of comfort. They've got the Zeri, they've got Bako onto his Camille, and especially the mid lane Peppe onto one of his assassins, Nikolex, as he's notoriously known, Olaf as well. So I think Team Phantasma really want to go out with a bang. If they can outplay X7 here, it will be a big statement.
Going out on a win here for Team Phantasma is huge. Not only just for the fact that, you know, you've got the you leave on that win, but you've also done a massive upset against a team who honestly kind of looked infallible coming into today. And after that loss to Common Corp, you know, I wouldn't say X7 are now bad just because they lost one game, but you know, a team who was honestly, realistically, I did think could go 6-0 today. However, that won't be the case for them, and if they lose another game today, that will raise some serious concerns going into group stages, into playoffs. Sorry. As
Absolutely.
Having a quick look at the teams just one last time before we get into this final game of Group B, or at least the regular side of Group B. Remember, the potential for this game, if X7 win this game, they are in a tiebreaker versus Common Corp immediately after this game. If Team Phantasma win, X7 are locked into second in Group B. Common Corp will take that first seed, and with teams like LDLC qualifying first out of their group, qualifying second can really be a pain. Although it is interesting because I've spoken to a lot of people over the years, you know, a lot of interviews like, oh man, wouldn't it be rough to go second in your group and then you have to play versus a first seed? A lot of the answers have always been, well, if we get to finals, we have to play versus them anyway. So, you know, if we can't beat them there, then we don't deserve to go to finals. So while it does make an easier road to finals, it does at the same time, you know, you have to beat those teams if you want to be a winner anyway.
But also TRL pride as well, right? The furthest away that you can go through, like imagine K-Corp are like the back-to-back E-Masters champions. Imagine facing them in quarterfinals. You're like, I couldn't have done anything. They won the entire thing. Yeah. But like if you dodged them and then you lost them in the finals, you're like, holy smokes, I made finals and then I lost to Kameko. So I can see all the national prides from the EROs coming in, especially with LDLC locking in first seed. You definitely don't want to be facing that monster that early on. We heard from the Kameko coach as well. And definitely I feel like X7 are going to be fighting for their lives, because if you lose to a team that is 0-5 right now in the standings and is struggling, it might be an issue.
Yes, absolutely. It's obviously, you know, there is an expected outcome from this game. Realistically, looking at how the rest of the groups have gone, but there is still tools to use here. X7 have drafted once again. I'd say a kind of a wacky draft. If that, you know, things like the Vex as a champion, we don't see all that much. They do still have like regular tools as well. But this is one of the things what I liked about it. So I'll say their name, X7. There we go. Purely because of the fact that they, you know, they're very good at locking in these inventive comps and these very different comps and like slightly off meta and understanding their win conditions.
Yeah, and again, I think this is like literally a bubble created around Nata. They want to let him sign. We mentioned how they can play around it. But once again, let's look at the standings for Group B. Group B has been locked in. NOC and LFL, with LFL currently taking first seed, coming up with 5 and 1, are going to advance forward to the quarterfinals, and X7 following with 4 and 1. Of course, they have still to play the game versus Team Phantasma, who are right now 0-5 and are looking to play spoiler and grab their first victory in this group stage. A lot is at stake, because if X7 Esports managed to beat Team Phantasma, that means that we're going to have a tiebreaker with Karma Corp and X7 Esports straight after the game you're about to see. Of course, we're going to be going into game very shortly, and I think Hiprena took a little bit what you were going to say, so I'm not going to ask you any analysis points. I'm just going to continue on the fact that we have seen X7 play multiple styles when it comes to the NOC. They've played the front to backs, they've played top side strong, they've played bot side strong, they've played purely around mid jungle duo as well. And honestly, we've seen them succeed in every single one of them. And again, the only team that was able to exploit any weaknesses from X7 only in the regular split has been Bifrost, who is also in EU Masters, and now Kamecorp, that were able to pull out a victory off X7. And I'm not necessarily just going to say that X7 played this badly, because I felt like both Kamecorp and X7 made crucial mistakes. But a lot of the times, when you do rely so much on Haru to create a game, create opportunities, create ganks, make that pressure, be the clever shot caller that will create the ganks and the invades and the clever pathing, sometimes things can go wrong, especially versus Team Phantasma. Their previous game, Haru did not have a stellar performance. Yes, they were able to pull it back, but he was caught a lot of times into Nikolex's Olaf, and Nikolex is on that champion again. So he needs to be extremely careful, because Olaf does want to 1v1 you if he does find you.
Yeah, I think the big thing, you know, we're looking at this team and we look at their previous game versus Kamecorp, which is obviously the best kind of measuring stick for them today. Jaeger definitely had a rough time. Haru had a pretty rough time. Tempt actually was probably the best performing member in that game. And then Nata and Kasing definitely had a rough one as well. Just so you know, there has been a couple of issues with Champ Select, hence why we are still nattering away. We will cut to a quick break, and when we'll be back with this game. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a second. Sorry, mate. That was...
I could bathe in the moon.
back at the Amazon EU Masters. Sorry about the delay. Sorry about the extension of everything, but we are ready to get into our final game of Group B, which is Team Phantasma versus X7. We've already done Champ Select, so all that boring stuff's out the way and it's into action, I hope.
Come on, man. Draft is not that boring.
Draft's boring when you're a play-by-play, because I just know yell. I know loud noises and yell. That's all smart. I don't think like that.
Keeper, you are smart. I believe in you. You are smart.
I actually quite enjoy Champ Selects. I'm just joking.
That was my attempt to make you sound like you're smart.
You're just trying to make me sound like I'm smart. I see. Thank you, Trouble.
You're welcome. Anytime, Jake.
Well, we are on to the Rift for our final game of the day. And let's be real. Even though they're 0-5, Team Phantasma put up a pretty impressive game versus Gamer Legion.
Absolutely, and this is what is scary for X7 right now, because even though technically they have the easier game to play at the very end, which is Team Phantasma, the fact that they have put up such a good performance already today for the GLL representatives, and last time they faced X7, there were a bunch of whoopsies from Haru that Team Phantasma actually capitalized on. It gets a little bit scary. Again, Camille are 5-1, already qualified for quarterfinals, and now X7 have to catch up. If they beat Team Phantasma, and if they get that 5-1, we have a tiebreaker straight after this game to determine the first seed between Camille and X7. So far, for the side of Team Phantasma, they have drafted champions that want to outplay you. The Olaf into the Zhao, the Sylas into the Vex, Bako with his Camille running the Ignite top. So I'm expecting both of the junglers to start bots of the map and just sprint it top and try to get the top laners ahead.
Yeah, it could get a little bit crazy in this final game, as Tempt's doing his best to try and find that fear onto Peppe. We'll catch him with a fear and still lose the trade because Sylas is balanced.
Nope, he won't.
Oh, there we go. Okay, you got him on the tail end. I hate Sylas. I don't know how many times I said this on broadcast, but I goddamn hate Sylas.
All right, so since you do hate Sylas because he heals so much, Tempt is also running the Ignite. So both the solo laners from the side of X7 are running extremely aggressive summoners, and especially in the top lane, usually you will run the flash onto the Camille and the Gwen when there is something that you can actually flash away from, such as like a flag and drag or like a point or like a CC that's thrown at you as a skill shot. Now, because this is an Olaf and this is a Zhao, there's not necessarily any hard CC coming from them. They can actually opt to play with the Ignite and get away with the hook shot or the bubble for the sort of Gwen.
Well, Tempt is bullying Peppe very hard right now in lane, obviously using that range advantage, and every time Peppe uses one of his dashes, gets that, I can't remember the name of the debuff is, but the irritation thing where you get feared.
Isn't it Doom and Gloom?
I think it is Doom and Gloom. I can't remember the name of her passive.
Come on, you're supposed to be the one remembering the names.
Yeah, it's been a while since he's in Vexor, right? So sometimes I forget.
All right. This is obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, it's Tempt's Vex. It's the champion that he's mostly known for back in the NOC. He's played this a lot in combination with Haru's Hecarim before all the nerfs came for Hecarim, of course. And Haru now is on the Zhao. As we have previously mentioned, both junglers are passing towards the top side of the map, but Haru here is at an advantage because both of his lanes have priority, which means they will both be able to move into the river first. And as you can see, Jaeger is already hovering. Haru has grabbed the scuttle, but once the axes land, you have to flash away from them.
Oh, they're just jumping straight into the action, into the thick of it. Haru will get out the first blood. Jaeger's next to follow. Team Phantasma find two.
Oh, this is disaster. This is exactly what happened. This is exactly what happened to Haru in the game they played versus Team Phantasma in week 1. They walk into this tri-bush, they get caught by Nikolex's Olaf, and the lower the Olaf is in HP, the more he wants to fight. Look at this again. Once the first axe lands, you have to flash the second one so the slow doesn't go through. And then they instantly dive onto Bako, but his bone plating is going to soak up so much damage, and then Nikolex is just going to axe them down. That is all Summoners taken from the top lane. That is flash taken away from Haru. And it is yet again disaster versus Team Phantasma for X7 in the early game.
And this is not what X7 need. If they want to find a win here and take on KC, they need to do so in dominating fashion. There's a Bako just kind of showing off the true damage capabilities from that empowered precision protocol. Jaeger down in levels, does need to be very careful and skip the slash away.
Jaeger's lane is not at a good state right now because, okay, it's going to be fixed right now, so it's slowly going to start pushing towards Jaeger, but it's going to take another wave until it gets anywhere near his tower, so Jaeger's going to try to get a cheeky recall right here. Haru yet again with an overextension right there. Again, happened versus Team Phantasma on the first week these two teams played. It's happening again. This time they do not have as easy of a combo as a Diana Yasuo together with Tempt to try and make plays. So it's gonna have to be Haru trying to farm up and be that bubble around Jinx later on in the fights. Nata has all the protection he needs in the world. He's got a Sona with a bunch of auras, heals, and shields. He's gonna have the Vex providing the Fierce and potentially the Everfrost later on to pin someone down like the Camille. He's also gonna have Xin Zhao's ultimate, and Jaeger is onto the Camille where he can pop the bubble and create some frontline for his Jinx too. So Nata right here is going to be the primary carry for X7, and it's on the side of Team Phantasma to try and create the outplays with the champions they have chosen.
It was just a, let's say, a minor misplay for now from the side of X7, but it might cost them a little bit. Although I did see Haru actually got the second crab as well, so he got both crabs on the map. So even with going down, was able to at least claw back something, although crabs obviously not as potent as they previously were.
Oh, look at that though. So what we forgot to mention is that there is a Yuumi on the bot side of the map. Now, we have seen a few Yuumi picks where the Yuumi doesn't necessarily have a strong champion to cling onto, but right here, whichever teammate Sanity chooses to attach to is a really good carry candidate. You've got you've got the Sylas, you've got the Olaf, you've got the Camille. They can all giga carry any team fight if they have the buffs and shields and heals and speed ups from the Yuumi. So I feel like the Yuumi pick here is going to be extremely instrumental in these Team Phantasma team fights. Now, of course, I've talked to the coach from Team Phantasma, the Rock 7, and he's told me that once we get out of laning phase, our macro is pretty good. We can play team fights, we know how we want to play the game. The only problem is laning phase, and so far, it's so good. I see Vaynedeta being up 12 CS in the bot lane. I'm seeing Bako doing pretty well, also getting that first blood over the top side of the map. And yes, Peppe is going to struggle because he's playing melee into range with the Sylas, but at the end of the day, he's managing to keep up in levels.
Well, it looks like we're actually seeing the side of Team Phantasma start up this first dragon. 7 a little bit too slow to the punch on this one. It will be a pickup for the Greek representatives.
Olaf does thrive in taking these early objectives, and of course, again, having the priority towards the bot side of the map means that you get to sneak these ones away. Now, I don't expect too much action coming in from Haru, because a lot of the times you'll hear teams say that if we're technically the better team...
Oh, there's no level 6 on Kasing, so that could have been worse than it was.
So, if you're technically the better team in playing the team fights, which X7 are exceptional at playing team fights, you will usually not want to fight too much in the early game, and especially when you have a giga scaling team like X7 have right now. Like Sona is going to be perma-sustained in the later stages. Jinx is one of the top hyper carries in the game. And then you've got Gwen that scales so much, and Haru is going to be your frontline tank that will soak up so much damage. You don't necessarily need to do much. You just wait until you scale in the later stages and take teams down by still team fighting.
It looks like Haru might actually be looking for something here onto Bako. Jaeger has got that needlework available, and Bako just being doing what Camille does, and is able to hook shot away to safety. Nikolex now does need to be a little bit careful as his top lane is heavily chunked out. And Tempt always about with that Shadow Surge, able to kind of close these gaps. It's a fairly long range ultimate. Can jump in with that big old fear.
Yeah, right here, Haru actually has to hover towards the top side of the map because Jaeger is also trying to crash the wave. Tempt has priority mid, so they want to invade. And if that R connects from Tempt, it could be bad news for Nikolex.
Yeah, they're looking to chase him down. Remember, Nikolex does have his ultimate, so can cleanse that fear if necessary. Just going to steal away the blue buff. Tempt can get back into the mid lane first as well. And Bako needs to be careful.
Nata has also spotted Vaynedeta and Sanity backing because he threw the Super Mega Death Rocket towards the bot side of the map and just missed them just about. So now they know from the sort of X7 that Team Phantasma is on the map first and they're going to be rotating towards the top side, which is most likely going to mean Herald. Again, Olaf loves his early game objectives, and once they lock this one down, they could put it into any lane. But I'm thinking Bako would be the best one to give it to, getting his Camille ahead. He already has the first blood gold on him as well. Just get that Camille snowballing and try to make plays.
This does come at a cost, though. You can see Vaynedeta now in the mid lane, and a large wave got pushed in by Nata bot side. Should be able to get a plate as well with this wave size. Actually, and the cannon is going to absorb most of the damage from the tower, so actually Vaynedeta not really going to lose much, if anything, here.
He will lose the cannon and its experience, and that's about it. He will be able to soak up any other experience, so it's not that bad. Now, of course, you need to weigh the time investment that you put into taking Herald plus the value that the Team Herald will give you. So if Team Phantasma managed to get more than 2 tower platings with Shelly going down, then it is going to be worth the time investment for them. But Nata, as you mentioned, was able to keep up with the CS. There was a 20 CS difference between him and Vaynedeta, and now it's been closed down to 10.
Yeah, it's been a nice little pick up there with those 2 plates as well, just injecting more gold into Nata. I believe we're probably going to see a Gale Force come out from Nata this time. Last time, obviously, it was on the Misfortune. But I think Gale Force obviously gives you that extra kind of room of safety to work with.
Okay, I'm going to be a little bit crazy, and I'm going to say having Vex, Sona, Zhao, and Gwen around you could very easily result in a Kraken. Because you output you can, whilst being super protected by your entire team. And I think this is going to be the case right here for Nata. He can literally stand still, allow everyone else to keep him safe, and just put down the DPS. And it might just be the case.
Tempt's been doing a pretty good job here mid as well, been able to pick up a pretty hefty amount of tower plates. But, well, say 1 tower plate, but we'll be able to pick up this second one here. And
right now,
not really too much Peppe can do about it.
Peppe has been actually struggling. It's a really rough matchup. Any melee into Vex is a rough matchup, but you mentioned as well, every time the Sylas wants to trade HP to try and get CS, and he's not that far off. He's only 1 level down, but now Vex has been caught.
Yeah, they are jumping in. That's a massive living Dinosaurs. He's got the reset. Pepe's going to dodge out. They're waiting out the ultimate before he jumps back in. The fear comes down. Here comes the rocket. Nata jumps in forwards. A double kill for Haru. They do answer out, and now Nata's on the run. He is excited. He's able to flash over the wall. Another fear connects, and Kasing getting a little bit more poke damage down. Nata's flashed onto. The ignite is used, and X7 lose their AD carry.
And that's it. Team Phantasma managed to pick up 2 while trading 2 for themselves. But what is lost on the map? Because Jaeger still stays in lane, goes towards that second tower plating. He will back off, but he's getting 1, and he's been engaged upon on Bako, who still has his ultimate. But remember, Jaeger has ignite.
Yeah, Jaeger's really feeling it with the nadal work. Not going to finally get enough to get the kill. Bako avoids a pretty rough haircut, but is now chunked out heavily, and Jaeger still feeling it, able to skip and slash away from some of this damage. So there is a fair amount of sustain.
All in all, it was a 2 versus 2 scenario where Tempt got to push in mid lane and Jaeger got to push down top lane. But all in all, Vaynedeta is the actual true winner of all of this because he banks in 2 kills, he gets a bunch of tower platings and first tower gold put down for him, courtesy of Nikolex with that shell in his pocket. So all in all, Vaynedeta is going to be extremely rich, and this is what you want because you want your Zeri to be the carry, and Bako is diving in, but Haru's there.
Yeah, Bako's in for a whole lot of hurt. Haru slides in forwards and secures the kill. Yeah, that's the word. Jaeger will be able to pick up a plate or 2, although the wave has fallen apart, so Jaeger probably not going to get much more.
I think he just got the tire plating right before the tire platings expired. if I'm not wrong. So that would be 3 tower platings mid, 2 tower platings bot, and that is 5 overall versus the Shelly that Nikolex put down. So all in all, the value that you got from the 2 is pretty equal. But right now, Nikolex with a Yuumi can run people down.
Oh, they are just throwing everything onto Nata. Nata is being bullied today.
And remember, this is the member that you want to carry. And as you mentioned, he also went for the Gale Force, trying to dash away from these chains and, of course, axes that are going to be thrown his way, especially when he's going to be getting chased down. And I feel like X7 just need to slow down the pace a little bit. They've got the scaling on their side, and they're taking very unfavorable trades and fights. You need to wait for Gwen to scale. You need to wait for Jinx to have your 2 items, and then you can choose to fight the 5v5 fights, where you're going to have everyone around Nata, and you're not going to allow him to get touched by anyone.
Jaeger just loses most of his health bar. Bako does also lose a fair amount himself, and Jaeger does have the sustain. That's a lot of damage onto Bako, especially with those extra tower shots, and Vaynedeta was thinking about going in for a dive with him, but I think Jaeger should be able to just snip through the wave and clear it out.
As you can see, also Nata and Kasing have already reset and they're on the map. Kasing is heading towards the top side of the map. I'm thinking Nata will shove in that mid lane wave and also transition himself towards the top side, which is exactly what he's doing right now. And then we're going to swap our bot laners towards the top side of the map. Kasing is going to hold the wave. Haru is going to help right there as well. And the next Rift Herald is coming up. Now, the thing is, look on your map, because Bako does not have teleport, which means that he needs to stick around mid lane, especially if Team Phantasma want to fight this one. Jaeger on the other side can shove in the bot lane wave and TP into the fight. If we look into the items as well, everything has been completed except for Mythic on Sona, which is very important. Once the Moonstone is completed for Sona, that means a lot more heals and sustain will come through. Now, another problem is that there's no flashes on the side of X7. Like the Jinx has no flash, Kasing has no flash onto the Sona, which means once Nikolex presses Ghost, they're gonna be run down.
Yeah, he's got the ultimate. He's going to pop
Here we
Ghost
go.
there. That rundown we're talking about. It's going to have to be a huge fight for X7. They've already got the darkness off from Tempt. He's stunned up. He's locked down. He's found the reset. And this time, Nata is untouched as he gale forces to safety. And Tempt is just looming forward. Shadow Surge after Shadow Surge is going to connect to Kasing. Locked in place. Jaeger's on his lonesome. Vaynedeta gets himself the quadra kill. He's looking for the penta. It's going to be denied. Jaeger takes him down as Bako gets the ace, gets the sweep for the side of Team Phantasma.
Team Phantasma could be up for the upset of EU Masters so far, knocking X7 down to second seed. They have not been able to pick up a victory until now. That was a huge fight. 6-1 and 2 for Vaynedeta coming in strong with the quadra kill, and now you see the strength of this team in the early to mid game. This is exactly where they spike, and Nikolex is putting up a performance with the Yuumi on him. He's running down X7, and even though look at Tempt, look at the Vex, he gets the first reset right now on Peppe. He's going to throw another one onto Nikolex. He gets that one as well, and then he jumps onto Vaynedeta, and that was the mistake, because you definitely do not want to be jumping into a very, very strong Zeri. Doesn't end up getting the reset, and Vaynedeta gets to play around all of that space that the Infernal Rift creates, hiding away. But Jaeger with a cheeky ignite takes him down, denies the pentakill, but Bako seals the deal.
It was the Raptor as well. That is what sealed the deal. The Raptor was just doing so much damage to Vaynedeta.
Almost
Tragic.
3,000 gold difference between Vaynedeta and Nata. That is massive.
This is a honest-to-God criticism I've had of X7 in their last couple of games. They've kind of just left Nata to completely crumble and not played around him at all. And now you're dealing with a Jinx with a massive gold deficit, a massive experience deficit as well, and a very, very fed Zeri to play into. And I don't really think they've got an answer to it right now.
So the only problem so far is that Team Phantasma against spikes in the mid game. Their champions love playing that early, especially when you have Olaf and you can run people down in the early to mid. It's exactly what you want. And then later on in the fights, Sylas will be unstoppable, especially if you grab something like a Zhao ultimate or a Sona ultimate. That's going to be huge. And then we have seen late game Zeris that can literally 1v9, especially when given the space. And due to the Infernal Rift, there is so much space that Vaynedeta can play around, so many walls that he can dash through and hide behind. And right here, they're going to use the second Herald that Nikolex got with his Olaf in the early game to put down pressure in the mid lane so they can go down towards the dragon, but it dies.
Big smite from Haru there to make sure that they pick that one up. Have to be one hell of a crescendo for Kasing onto Vaynedeta, although Vaynedeta about to get that cleanse back up, and the teleport's coming in. Peppe jumping in forwards to make sure that he is here available for this dragon. Little bit of poke onto Bako, but remember the smite was used momentarily by Haru, but it has come back up off cooldown. Dragon's going to get started. This will be the third for the side of Team Phantasma. Haru jumps in. He's looking for the smite. He's able to seal it away. They're locking down onto Nata for the moment. Bako jumps out over the wall. They get themselves another kill. And now in they go. Now they look to chase. It is all going to be on the side of Team Phantasma, though, as they are wiping through people. Kasing will crumble in the final moments. Nata cashing in on a couple of kills himself. And that was a absolutely messy fight.
And that was a very much different fight because Vaynedeta gets stuck into the pit with Vex, with Zinza, with Gwen, and you definitely do not want this to happen. You have a very fed AD carry, you want Vaynedeta to be moving freely, and he was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Haru also, insert insult to injury, he steals the dragon away, which would have been so point for Team Phantasma. And you see again Tempt on the side as well. He's looking for that big ultimate, but first of all Jaeger catches Haru on the side, and that really fed Camille is chased away instantly. You see Jaeger and Haru chasing, and then they jump in and they force Vaynedeta to get completely out of the pit. Only Olaf remains, runs down the Sona, yes, but at the end of the day X7 win the fight. They bank some kills onto the carries, 2 onto Nata, which is very important. He's been drying out. You mentioned it as well. Getting 2 kills on your Jinx is very crucial. And now the scaling starts happening for the set of X7. Jaeger fancies himself a 1v1.
Yeah, he was feeling it a little bit there. Got the Nashers, got the Rift Maker, so Jaeger very, very strong right now. We're actually seeing Nata build what I believe will be a Bloodthirster as his second item, recognizing that sustain is super key here in this particular matchup. Also, has had to diverge a little bit on the build path towards some anti-heal with that Executioner's Caller. Same for Tempt as well. I think, you know, you are dealing with Nikolex. A lot of sustain on that Olaf, and then obviously the Yuumi as well being a bit of a nuisance. But Vaynedeta now on the Hurricane finished up, so 3 items picked up, and Nata not even finished their second, so definitely behind the punch right now. Talking
about items, can I ask our observers to toggle to gold for a second, because Kasing still does not have his Moonstone up and available, whilst Sanity has almost second item completed. And this really does hurt the X17 fights, because once the Moonstone is completed, once this boost in shielding and healing comes through from the item, it's going to be massive for Nata. It's going to be massive for Haru and Jaeger staying alive. And it is just very important. I've been eyeing down Kasing's inventory for the past 5 to 6 minutes, and the item is still not complete.
Should be somewhat soon, I would assume. Also, big thing as well is Kasing hasn't actually quite hit that. Wow, he's actually not there yet.
Yeah.
Kasing hasn't hit level 11, while Sanity has, so has that extra point in that final chapter over the Crescendo. Crescendo obviously going to be a very impactful team fighting tool, unless it's on Nikolex, because he'll just cleanse it. So Vaynedeta now both summoner spells up and available as well. While I talk about the cleanses, it's going to be a little bit harder to punish them, and they're worth a lot of gold. If you can funnel that gold onto Nata, there is a world where X7 can actually really get a good grip hold on this game, because at the moment it's Team Phantasma who have themselves a 2,000 gold lead over their counterparts from the NLC.
It is just really important to try and stall the game down, right? You've got the scaling on your side. That Jinx will be undying once the Moonstone gets completed, once more items start coming in, once you've got something like an Ardent Censer to boost the attack speed of the Jinx as well. Once, like you mentioned, maybe the Bloodthirster comes in, so there's even more sustain. 2 items now on Jaeger. Then you're going to be seeing the Hourglasses coming in. There's just so much sustain and tankiness on the side of X7 to allow Nata to put down the damage, and Team Phantasma need to accelerate the game just a little bit. They have a very, very fed Zeri, which is way ahead of the curve right now. 3.5 items going towards that Hex Drinker, since there's 2 AP threats coming his way in the likes of Jaeger onto the Gwen and Tempt onto that Vex. And X7 yoinking away that dragon meant that right now they can completely ignore it or even try to choose to fight it, because look at Kasing's inventory. Finally, the movement has been completed.
And Nata's got that Bloodthirster as well, so there's even extra additional sustain to work with. Bako's coming in on the flank. They're going to throw it down for the moment. They jump in. They get the pop back. They've rooted them in place, but Nata is untouched. Everything is just getting a cluster here in the mid lane. Nata's going to get jumped onto. It's Haru as he remains untouched. Bako going low, able to find the kill, and Jaeger just about able to sustain. The Moonstone sustain is coming up absolutely huge here for X7 as Vaynedeta is able to heal up, and Dragon will get picked up. Haru down. No response coming in from the side of X7.
They just cannot reach Vaynedeta. Vaynedeta is untouched the entire time, putting down the DPS. A 2-item Jinx with just Bloodthirster and Gale Force is just not enough to take Nikolex's Olaf down. And even though Haru had a fantastic ultimate to push the Olaf further into his team, it just did not matter. X7 need to scale harder. 3,000 gold in the lead right now by the Greek representatives. And Hiprain, this looks like a lot of comfort for the GLL team. This looks like Team Phantasma could potentially be on the break of getting the first victory and upsetting X7 from taking first seed.
If Team Phantasma find this win, this is a absolutely massive win for the standings. It doesn't affect them at all here at the Amazon E-Masters, but it gives Karmine Corp first place in Group B and forces X7, who were undefeated coming into today, into that second seed, and means that in the playoffs, they will be playing versus a first seed team, as Nikolex has been spotted out. This Yuumi's been a real problem, as actually they're turning onto Haru. He does have ultimate to buy a bit of space, and Peppe steals away the crescendo. It's a little bit of poke damage for now, as this mid lane tower also being a little bit of a nuisance right now for the side of X7. Curious to see what the next item from Nata's going to be. If he finishes up the Grievous and just gets that Zeal and tries to get as much crit in as possible, or looks for something like that Infinity Edge and just relies on the attack speed he'll be getting from that Ardent, which should be coming through at some point.
Yeah, and as you can see, as you mentioned about the Ardent sensor, Kasing has been a little bit behind on items. Level 12 on Sanity's Yuumi right now. He's also got the Redemption right there to try and get even more healing done. And even though, yes, you've got the Executioners, you've got the Morellos, that takes down a little bit on your damage department, especially when you've fallen behind 2,000 gold and you need to scale into the late game, taking these fights where you've invested more into your opponents not healing too much rather than you getting more damage. It might cost you in these early fights, and that's exactly what's been happening to X7. Nikolex.
They're looking for Tempt. Tempt is going to jump in. They've got a bit more shielding to work with. He's going low. The final chapter comes in. The rocket's wide. And that is going to be a kill onto Kasing. Sanity's able to get the zap. In response, Nata jumps in. Vaynedeta's over the wall. Nata has to flash out, but Bako was able to chase and get the kill. Now it's Jaeger giving him a haircut. The needlework does the work necessary. Tempt has nothing. Jaeger skips and slashes away to safety as Bako continues to chase forward. A stopwatch from Tempt will hold his life for the moment. X7 are getting away with murder just about, but Bako will not survive. Yes, he will. The Yuumi healing is too much. Team Phantasma are looking fantastic right now.
What is going on? Vaynedeta dives in and dies, but Bako then carries the fight. The 2.5 item Camille coming in clutch, and we mentioned how this Yuumi, whichever targets he chooses to stick onto, it just works because he has 4 hyper carries on her team. So look at this again. Nikolex is going in. Remember, he had wasted the ultimate on that 1v1 with Haru previously, and he's choosing to run down Tempt. But here is where the teleport comes in. Jaeger TPs in to stop Peppe from going in, and then Nikolex is caught between 3 members. But the Yuumi healing, the Redemption come through, and they're both enough to buy time for everyone else from Team Phantasma to arrive. Nata gets instantly caught by Vaynedeta, has to flash away. Bako finishes him off. Both the AD carries are taken away, and that was literally a game of inches right here. The stopwatches are coming in clutch, back and forth underneath the tower, but at the end of the day, Yuumi healing is what saves the day.
Yuumi healing being so impactful as the Baron has been started up. Haru,
no.
can he find the steal? This could be a massive moment here. He's jumped into the pit. Doesn't able to steal it away, but the fight is on instantly. Nata's jumped onto my Bako. Vaynedeta is untouched, but look at the damage coming out from Jaeger, baby. Absolutely colossal for the side of X7.
Here comes the scaling, baby. X7 do not manage to steal away the Baron, and it's only Bako getting away with the buff. 6-2 and 6 onto that Camille has to make it worth. Has to make it worth. I've lost my English, man. What in the world is going on?
That was such a cluster. That was such a cluster of a fight trouble.
X7 start scaling so hard. Death cap completed for Jaeger's Gwen. I think he did so much work on this fight. 20 seconds to set up for that dragon, and X7 are already the first ones moving there because Team Phantasma are dead. Only Bako remains. He's gonna shove in mid and bot lane. And let's look at this team fight again because Haru jumps in. Team Phantasma do not stop hitting the Baron. So there is a chance right there for the 50-50, but it's taken away, thankfully, by Peppe. And Olaf tries to run away, but it's not enough. And once everyone is just stuck into the pit, Jaeger is snipping and cutting and slicing people away. And now you see the true power of a level 16 Gwen.
Well, that is that 1,000 gold shutdown Jaeger picked up on to Vaynedeta as well, coming in huge, but they're into the pit. They're looking to steal it away, but that is going to be everybody jumping in forward. This fight is so sloppy, but Nata is untouched at the moment. Bako able to find himself a kill onto his support, but look at the rockets. They're able to get the snipe. They're able to get a little bit more damage. Nata is going unleashed right now. A double kill for X7's AD carry. They are denied of the Infernal Soul. Tempt throws out a Desperation Shadow Surge. But X7, they can push forward.
I do not think the Infernal Soul matters at all here. Heatbrain X7 have scaled absolutely to the gods right now. Hourglass onto the Vex as well. 3.5 items for Jaeger. He should have Hourglass really soon. 25 seconds for anyone, and X7 might even look for more than an inhibitor, but they're going to back off because Bako onto that Camille is extremely dangerous, has the hourglass, the stopwatch as well. And once again, this fight, keep your eyes onto that Camille. Olaf will jump in instantly, dies, or goes into Guardian Angel. And look at that, Jaeger finds instantly the backline. Snip, snip, he's gonna jump onto Vaynedeta, and he literally rips through everyone in front of him. This Gwen is absolutely crazy. Holy. This game should not be that close.
74 health was what that dragon was on.
This game has no business being that close. X7 have no business being that close versus a team that is 0-5. Team Phantasma are putting up a play for us.
I mean, Team Phantasma have had a really good day. Win or loss, they have had an amazing day. They challenged Game of Legion. And honestly, I feel like they should have won that game. And even as a NLC fanboy, I'm going to say they probably should win this game, like from the way this game started. But it does feel like you've said multiple times, the scaling is coming in for the side of X7. You've now got those 3 items on the Jinx. Sure, there isn't an Infinity Edge yet, but for the last couple of fights, Nata has been untouched. It has been focused onto Kasing. It's been focused onto Tempt, but it's allowed Nata to put out the damage and enabled Jaeger and him to kind of tidy up these team fights. I
just cannot wait for the post-game graphic where I'm going to see that Gwen damage, because I think the damage that Jaeger is dishing out right now is absolutely insane, and there is just no way to pin down that Gwen. If you look on the side of Team Phantasma, the only one who can pin down the Gwen is Bako if he locks Gwen into the ultimate, but then there is no more point-click CC. Jaeger can 1v2.
Jaeger is looking for it. Stopwatch has been used. He's got the needlework. He's trying to keep himself alive at the moment. The rocket comes in. Jaeger able to survive, and he continues to chase forward, but Vaynedeta jumps in. Stopwatch is going to get used. They've got the redemption, and he is down. Shut down. 1,000 gold gifted over to Vaynedeta.
Ooh, okay, so a little bit of overextension from both of the top lanes right there. Both Jaeger and Bako end up going down. But what's at stake on the map? Because there's nothing on the map right now. There are no dragons. There are no Barons. 1.5 minutes for Baron to spawn. You will see that slowly but surely. X7 will push in their waves, same as Team Phantasma, and they will back off. Last few items until you start moving into the top quadrant of Haru's jungle and start setting up, trying to cut somebody off guard. There's no ultimate actually on Tempt. This is why you see Peppe pushing a little bit more aggressive right there, trying to shove in and crash that wave underneath the tower. And now he's gonna take his reset, trying to get onto the map. 50 seconds for the next Baron, and the whole setup and the whole vision belongs to Team Phantasma on the top side right now.
Yeah, they have complete control of that area of the map. Does actually kind of feel like there's very few pockets for X7 to actually move through. They're using one of those now, trying to get some control around this Baron pit, like you're saying, spawning up very, very soon. Stopwatch on Nata is a huge pickup. Got both of his summoner spells. Vaynedeta doesn't. So Vaynedeta's caught out. This could be very, very scary for him. Does still have the cleanse, though, which is going to be a large tool.
There are 4 stopwatches / hourglass users on the side of X7. They know that this next fight is going to be massive, so they all have their vulnerability clicks up and available for them, all except Kasing. And as you mentioned, Vaynedeta doesn't have one, but he does have his Guardian Angel. So if he does get caught and goes down, he will be able to come back to life. Now, the problem is that Bako's Camille is on a side lane. Jaeger will be going to match soon, I'm assuming, because there's also teleport available for Jaeger, and we have seen that he can definitely 1v1 Bako's Camille.
Absolutely. Bako, though, level 18. Gonna blast cone over towards this wave. Jaeger has to be very careful. He spends a little bit too long, could just end up losing Baron or a tower, or both. If it's indecisive, the rocket will spot out this Baron attempt. That might just be enough to send Team Phantasma away. Rocket on a relatively short cooldown at this point, as Jaeger's just trying to get a grip hold back on that top wave, on that bot side wave. But look at Bako waiting in the winds. There's a constant threading and yo-yo effect from Team Phantasma.
The problem is, Team Phantasma do not really have an easy way into the fight. You legitimately just have an Olaf that has to run you down. And every time Nikolex has pressed his R button and his ghost, he's died before he's reached anyone. Even if he has Guardian Angel, he's going to instantly die before he reaches any crucial member from the side of X7. So at this point, the only thing Team Phantasma can do is shove in the waves and hopefully catch someone.
Oh, Tempt! He's going to have to stopwatch. They got the redemption. Watch for the crescendo. The flash comes out from Tempt. Now Jaeger's already into the fight. It's too slow for Bako. Nata on that flank, trying to keep himself alive as Bako jumps in. The look for Haru. Haru trying to buy a bit of space for his team. Nata remains untouched for now.
Haru has ult. Haru has ult. Haru still has ult. He can be very tanky. There's a lot of healing and shielding coming in from Sona, but they have neglected the bot lane tower. Jaeger still keeps that teleport very crucial. No Olaf ultimate. Soul is up. This is Elder Dragon that just spawned, and Bako has moved in first.
Yes, he has indeed. Jaeger closing in. They're going to start up the Elder any moment now. Look at that bot wave as well. It's almost in the base. The crab secured for vision, for speed. For the side of Team Phantasma, Peppe needs to find another miracle engage. The Shadow Surge on cooldown right now for Tempt. Jaeger, no needlework either. The Dragon has been started. Ghost still available for Nikolex, and he's about to get his ultimate as well. Jaeger is in the pit, keeping this Dragon alive, keeping it going. Here comes Bako on the flank. He's spotted out, though. They see him there. Jaeger's on a pretty awkward position now. Nikolex goes in with the Ghost. He's looking for Nata. He's looking for the execution. They're looking at the fear. Nata flashes over the wall for a bit more safety. He keeps himself alive with a sustain. There's the rocket. There's 2 kills. Picked up at the start of X7. They've got the crescendo. They've got the lockdown phase. They're going to jump onto. Tempt jumps in. The fear's on. Haru's going to force the resurrection out as they're looking for Nata. Nata uses his own stopwatch. Sanity goes down. Nata finds a double. Nata's excited. X7 are coming up absolutely huge. And Bako slides in for the assassination. Nata won't die. X7 coming up absolutely huge in the Dragon Pit.
What a clutch fight! It seems like Team Phantasma put out the best fight that they could, and the Greek representatives, yes, they left a good name on the last game for themselves, but X7 are not here to play. They're here to demolish Amazon European Masters, and they're going to take that last victory home right before the tiebreaker versus Karma and Co-op. It's going to be a best of 3 between that NLC and LFL ever-going fight, T-Brain.
Oh my word, what a just bonkers game. That is the only word I can use to describe that game. It was unbelievably bonkers. X7, they were looking in a dire position in that game, and they came back when it counted. Some amazing fights from Nata. I do have to admit there's a couple of weaknesses and a couple of sore points and things I might be a little bit worried about as we get into the tiebreaker between them and Cartman Corp. But a moment just to celebrate Jaeger and Nata in that game, because Jaeger bought the time for Nata to become relevant. And then in those final few fights, Nata's positioning was just crisp. It was amazing. They had such a good game. I wouldn't say such a good game, but such a good recovery in that game.
I just have to give it to the Greek representatives, honestly, because they are leaving the Amazon European Masters with an absolute bang. And I'm going to steal your job because I'm going to toss it straight to Brave, because I cannot wait to see Camille Corp versus X7 for the first seed in our group. Stay right where you are. It's the third time these two teams meet.